Welcome back to the ADAC 2022 SimRacing Expo here at Nürnberg. We've got an absolute treat for you here because we've got NASCAR driver Treyten Lapcevich, who will be taking part live on stage in this beautiful VESARO rig in a NASCAR race at Daytona. We're now going to head over and see some of that footage.
The international world of NASCAR stock car racing collides at the World Center of Racing as a third round of this series descends for the first time in its history onto a superspeedway. This international all-star battle takes center stage at the legendary high-banked oval of Daytona as drivers from NASCAR Mexico, Euro NASCAR, the Canadian NASCAR Pinty Series, and the NASCAR Drive for Diversity prepare to duel at a venue of uncertainty, chaos, and monumental celebrations. Good evening and welcome to round 3 of the iRacing's coverage of the 2022 D-BOX E-NASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports, live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida, USA, and live from the ADAC SimRacing Expo in Nürnberg, Germany. Alongside Kenneth Bueno, I am Devin Henry. Ryan Bowers behind the scenes producing, making all the magic happen, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. It is morning in America, so good morning, but it's also the afternoon to all of our friends in Germany, for everybody at the ADAC SimRacing Expo. Make a little bit of noise. So glad to be with you here as we get ready for the first ever super speedway race for the eNASCAR International iRacing Series. And Kenneth, like I said, this is a track of uncertainty, of chaos. And when we talked to the drivers in our last race, some of them a little bit uncertain as our foreigners come into Florida and try to take on a track that most of them have never seen in the real world.
Well, Devin, you're right. This is the most wild card-esque race that we are ever going to see, at least in the history of the eNASCAR International iRacing Series. We've never had a track more than 2 miles for an oval. We've had it 1.5 miles. We've had short tracks, but we've never tackled the super speedway beast that a lot of drivers, even on the American side, are always somewhat afraid of when they take that stage and go for the green flag. Tonight is also going to be important because, Devin, we're going to be talking about points. We're already pretty much halfway through the season. Points are going to be very important. Like you said, drivers from last week were talking about how wary they were going to be going into tonight's event and being like, hey, we need to be smart. This race at Daytona specifically is going to test those drivers' skills of patience, discipline, and how much they're willing to risk if it means a couple of extra points for that championship.
Victor Morales right now from NASCAR Mexico leads the way, but Treyten Lapcevich not far behind after his victory last week at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And this is the halfway point of our schedule here at Daytona, and it does not get easier from here. We're going to visit our friends in virtual Germany 1 week from now, 30 laps at Circuit Zolder on December 13th, so be here for that as well. And we close out the season at the granddaddy, basically, of all the oval tracks, the Lady in Black, Darlington, another track that a lot of these drivers have never seen before in the real world. We have such a unique character of racetracks on the schedule this year, Kenneth.
There's a lot of diversity, and again, Daytona being that outlier, the first time we ever see a proper super speedway on the schedule. But then you have some of the favorites like Circuit Zolder. I know we already saw Canadian Tire, those tracks that have been around for quite a while in Season 2 and now for Season number 3. And then, like you said, Darlington, a unbelievable track to drive in sim, especially with this NASCAR Xfinity Series car. It's so hard to drive. It takes a lot of skill. And for a championship finale, it means it's going to be so much fun. But this race specifically going to be probably the most pivotal in the championship. When we go to Daytona, at least in previous history, we've gone on the road course, but this time, Devin, we're on the big oval itself. And if you're a stock car racing fan, chances are you know this place very well. Opened back in 1959, Devin, 2.5 miles, 4.2 kilometers, 31 degrees of banking, a staggering amount of banking in the corners, 18 degrees in that main trial to the start-finish line, 2 degrees on the back straightaway. It looks as simple as it can get. Full throttle, turn left, flat to the floor, but there's so much more dynamic-wise in the middle of the pack that we'll talk about in this race.
Still so many ways that you can make mistakes. This isn't really a sprint race, though, Kenneth. 50 laps, it's pretty a long way around here.
Yeah, it's pretty long. I think the longest that we'll have in the season, 125 miles, 210 kilometers, but here's where the nitty-gritty gets in. Unlimited tires in the pits. We may not see tires be that big of a factor, but everything below it certainly matters. One fast repair for these drivers, so if you are involved in a crash, and we do see crashes often at super speedways, you've got that one chance to get a clean race car before the race is all said and done. They obviously fix setup so everybody's on an equal playing field, but then we have those 3 green-white checkered attempts that we have yet to see that all season long over the first 2 races. Can we see it for the first time this evening?
No, don't jinx us, Kenneth. We don't need that here at Daytona. It always goes wild when we do that at Daytona. And, of course, what all of you viewers are certainly looking forward to is our giveaway, of course, featured by D-BOX and Digital Motorsports. This is a sim racing giveaway that we have included with this: a play seat rig, racing seat and brackets, Fanatic direct drive base, a Fanatic NASCAR wheel, V3 pedals, a shifter, floor stand mount, and a 49-inch Samsung curved television. And of course, this is the D-BOX haptic system, the best motion system on the market. No hydraulics. This is electric motors. It is one of the best on the market, and you can win this entire rig by entering at dbox.com/enascar/contest anytime between now and December 21st. All you have to do is go to the website and pick who you will think will win this 2022 eNASCAR International iRacing Series Championship, and sign up for the D-BOX newsletter for your chance to win this Digital Motorsports NASCAR simulator outfitted with D-BOX haptic technology. I know that's what most of our viewers are looking forward to week after week here in this international series. And of course, one extra aspect that we have right now in the world of iRacing, if you want to jump on track and try your hand at Daytona, maybe a track that you've never seen in real life before, right now is the time to do it. If you are a new member, 50% off your membership of either a 1-year or 2-year subscription. That is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sale on the market for iRacing year-round. Or for all of you already inside of iRacing, have already bought content, it's also 25% off renewals and the reactivations. And like I keep saying, I do not reactivate and renew my iRacing accounts until we get to this sale. This is the big sale of the year. Be sure to take advantage of it at iRacing.com. Well, all of our drivers are prepared to take on what is one of the most ridiculous, insane, and wild racetracks in the world. Our pole sitter tonight, coming from Euro NASCAR in the Whelen Series, Miguel Gomez with a time of 50.652. He only takes the pole by 7 one-thousandths of a second against Treyten Lapcevich, the NASCAR Pinty Series driver out of Canada. But the Grimsby, Ontario native is actually in Germany right now, racing with a live audience. Excited to see what he's going to be able to do. And how about a newcomer, the 22-year-old from La Miranda, California, Ryan Vargas, will start off in P3 tonight. Alongside him will be our other Canadian, JP Bergeron, in P4. Gil Listener joining us this weekend. He will round out your top 5. He will be alongside the number 148 machine of Gordon Barnes, the 49-year-old from the UK. Giorgio Maggi will make up the 7th position here, hailing from Switzerland in Euro NASCAR. Justin Campbell, one of our Drive for Diversity drivers, will take up P8, the driver from Griffin, Georgia, at just 16 years old. And rounding out the top 10, Louis Del Castro will start in the 9th position from Euro NASCAR alongside one of his Euro NASCAR friends, Ulysses Delso.
Paul Giffron, the 33, the French driver who was on podium last week at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, going to look for a second straight, maybe even a win as he starts inside of row number 6. Alberto Nasca out of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series will be to his outside in P12. Victor Barrales did not qualify, the first driver out of the batch to not qualify in this session. He's got a little bit of work to do from 13th, and Ruben Garcia, both of these drivers out of the NASCAR Mexico Series, going to be outside in P14. Jaden Reyna out of the Drive for Diversity camp, going to be inside of row number 8 in P15. Jake Cosio in the 51, going to be on the outside in P16. And then goes the final 2 drivers in this field, Giancarlo Vecchi in the 75 and Andres Perez de Lara lining up the rear of the field, 18 cars total.
Daytona is home of monumental events, the Daytona 500, the Rolex 24, Daytona Supercross, the list goes on and on. And for the first time ever, we're not on the road course. We hit the high banks of Daytona International Speedway for the D-BOX E-NASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports. A privilege to have you along for the ride, whether you're watching online or live in Germany from the ADAC SimRacing Expo in Nürnberg. But for now, it's time to watch on who will take home the checkers in Daytona. We are underway in Florida. How about the first ever full-time Portuguese driver in Euro NASCAR, Miguel Gomez, fighting off the most experienced real-world racing driver in this event at Daytona. If you want anybody pushing you in this race, it's that bright red number 23 car. 5 starts in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for the 22-year-old Ryan Vargas, leading that outside lane. And so far, Gomez has been able to outlast him on that inside groove.
And that's helped because of the numbers on the inside. The 46 didn't have as much help in that opening lap, but then got it by Gil Linster in the 56. And then came, it looked like the number 8 machine of Giorgio Maggi. All of them now starting to help. It looks like a couple of the drivers have gone up to the top, so roughly 6 or 7 cars lining up that top groove, and Ryan Vargas looks to lead them to the stripe. Treyten Lapcevich right behind him. We talked about Lapcevich, Devin, as a pure double threat, most likely in this series, being able to get a win at both the oval and the road course, and right now pushing the 23 to the front, but they are absolutely gridlocked coming out of turn 2.
The victor last race at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park on board right now, and live in Germany, Treyten Lapcevich. Keep an eye on that black and white number 20. He is racing inside Germany right now at the ADAC SimRacing Expo in Nuremberg. So he has himself an audience here in Germany. I don't know if he can hear you guys while he has his headset on, but be sure to make some noise whenever he's racing up front, because the Canadian making the travels to Germany, he is our only live racer here in this 18-car field, and he is fighting for what would be his 3rd career International Series win here on iRacing. And on top of that, he became the first ever winner in this series to go to victory lane, not just on the oval last season at Phoenix, but now also on the road course at his home track of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in this series.
And now I also wonder, Devin, as well, with him being the only driver in a live event setting, racing in a rig in this event, I wonder if that changes the approach for the 20 machine. Of course, he's got a win at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, like you said, from 1 week ago. He's got a good shot at what could be the championship later on in the season as he ride on board with Giorgio Maggi, the number 8 machine out of the NASCAR Wheeling Euro Series. But I wonder if it changes anything for Lapcevich, whether the field is different, the rig obviously feeling different. It's a motion rig, something that he's probably not completely used to when he races from home. So we'll see if Lapcevich changes any approach. For right now, though, he has absolutely nowhere to go, because, Devin, they are still even for the lead, and even for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, you name it, a bunch of positions still up for grabs. But that's the nature of racing here at Daytona. Everyone in the draft, as soon as you get cooped together, it is so hard to make passes when you've got everybody even on the inside and the outside.
And you talk to the drivers in the real world when they're racing at Daytona, and even they talk about whether they're more experienced than others or whether they're newbies to this type of racing. The fact that you have to learn quick, and I'm sure Lapcevich riding behind Ryan Vargas, the 5-time starter in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Daytona, you are learning a lot trying to follow that bright red number 23 machine. Meanwhile, the rest of these guys, they haven't ever ran at Daytona inside the real world. And how about the driver right now, 2nd row on the inside lane, Gil Linster, the 29-year-old from Luxembourg. This is actually the driver closest to Germany, if you will. This is a small rural country surrounded by Belgium, France, and Germany, and he will have what is going to be the closest to a home race that anyone else is going to have, as we see him live inside of his cockpit at home when we go to Circuit Zolder in just a couple weeks' time. And right now, he's putting a lot of hay on the rear bumper of that 46 car, doing a good job as a pusher.
Very good job keeping the 46 even with Vargas going back to turn 3, but you're right about that 56. I'm pretty sure he's going to be looking forward to Circuit Zolder when we get there. He's got a pole there. He's definitely probably going to be one of the best drivers, if not one of the fastest, to be in contention for the win. So you got to watch out for that 56. And right now doing a solid job. But again, this is a testament to what a lot of the drivers were harping on in our last race at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Being smart, not going outlandish, not doing anything crazy, at least for the first leg of this race, just hanging in there and trying to capture some good points. Because while, yes, you're still dealing with the sort of chaos of being behind the driver in the draft, having to push, making sure you can adjust for all the checkups that are going to happen on the inside and the outside. But if you just hang in where you are, you don't try to make a 3rd lane, you don't try to switch over different lanes and push drivers aggressively, you should be okay. And this is exactly what drivers like Elisa Dosso are doing in the 10 machine, just hanging in the draft, doing whatever they can to keep their car clean and be able to walk away with some decent points at, again, a venue, Devin, that not many of these drivers have experience in real life, let alone in sim.
And the most important part of this kind of racing is not getting out of that draft. When you only have 18 cars in this event, the last thing that you want to do is have to lose that draft and you end up losing the rest of the field. That is what has happened for Jaden Reyna, the NASCAR Drive for Diversity driver, otherwise known as Moose, the 16-year-old from Virginia, lost a lap, and not only that, but he has lost the draft once again, so issues for the driver born in Virginia. And so he's trying to get himself some sort of closure, some sort of revitalization, but right now, Ryan Vargas leads this field. He jumped down to that bottom lane because it looks like that's the lane pushing the most momentum right now, as Lapcevich will now lead that outside lane.
And racing here at these super speedways, Daytona, Talladega, even the newly reconfigured Atlanta Motor Speedway, you're going to want to have strength in numbers. If you have a lot of drivers in your line with you, chances are you're going to perform a lot better than the ones up at the top if they don't have enough people with them. And Ryan Vargas made that switch to the inside, so he takes the proverbial race lead, and there was a bit of swerving around Gil Linster, almost got into the 33 of Paul Geoffroy, who's now slipping into the top 5. Linster trying to make sure he can get to the top and almost made an indecisive choice there for the moment. As Treyten Lapcevich gets this push, it looks like he'll take the lead, but it won't last for long. Vargas immediately back down low, and there's a nice look at the Canadian driver who took the win 1 week ago at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
And check out that rig. He's in a motion rig right now, so he is feeling the bumps of Daytona. It's not this, well, the track on iRacing, of course, is the newer repaved one, and you would think, oh, it's just flat, it's just slick, it's just nice and smooth. No. There are bumps across this racetrack, and he's feeling those right now probably more than any other driver in this race. And you can kind of see some of the inexperience of some of these drivers internationally who have never ran here in the real world before. A lot of them race road courses, so maybe they don't have the most experience practicing here. There's one car going around down the back straightaway. Looks like Alberto Nasca gets spun out to the inside grass. That will not be a caution here, and the Euro NASCAR driver has to regroup. Looks like no damage, but they are going to lose the pack here, and this is going to end up being potentially the end of NASCAR's race.
And it was a single car spin, got involved in a crash with Gordon Barnes in the 148, who I think just slipped a little bit too high on the back straightaway, got into the 54. And the Italian driver from Turin around and possibly, like you said, out of this race. And I was about to mention it with Jaden Reyna, who's 1 lap down, and it may be the same for the 54 of NASCAR's run on board with the 7 of Jean-Philippe Bergeron, the other Canadian in this field from Daytona. Going a lap down at the ovals, in most cases, it's usually not that terrible. You go to 1 lap down at a track like, let's say, it's actually Bergeron going sideways, and he'll go around, 1 car up in the air, and the caution is out for the first time, and more drivers involved in it as well. The 51 of Jake Cosio, the 1 machine of Andres Perez de Lara, the 7 machine, and you see everyone getting involved, and that's Victor Barrales as well, getting a huge amount of damage, your points leader.
Boy, you could see the hands going to work with JP Bergeron. Got a bad push from Paul Geoffroy in that 33 car, and he oh so nearly saved that. And it turns into one of the big ones here tonight, coming on lap number 10. It includes your NASCAR Mexico Series points leader as well, Ruben Garcia. He gets caught up in that in the blue 88 machine. But yeah, the important part here, Kent, is going to be that number 39 car. You
see the 39 in the damage. Jean-Philippe Bergeron sliding back down the track. There's Andres Perez de Lara, that bright blue Ford Mustang that's trying to get back up to speed. And again, that's a thing that we talk about at these super speedways, and when you don't have that much experience, it could happen to you. Geoffroy just had a huge run on Bergeron and could not ignore it. Got into the rear end, but just had it at the wrong angle. Just a little too close to that right side. It got Bergeron out of shape, then got him into contact with a 21 at Campbell, and then all of a sudden he tried to save it. And good on him for trying, because he almost about got it. And unfortunately, the car just went around, and everybody behind has to suffer the circumstances. And we do have 1 fast repair, so at least for the most of the field, Devin, involved in this crash, they can get a fresh race car, but the last thing you would really want is to burn the fast repair at lap number 12 instead of, let's say, lap number 45 or something. You do not want to burn the fast repair so early, because then you have to treat this car like an eggshell for the rest of the race.
Drivers on pit road, they do need some gasoline here, because 50 laps is a long way around Daytona. Our first caution comes 30 miles into the race, still 120 miles to go. If you would like to learn more about the growing world of e-NASCAR and all that it is becoming, just scan this QR code up on your screen, or you can always visit enascar.com and sign up today to get all the latest news and updates whether it be Road to Pro, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, this D-BOX E-NASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports, and there is so much more going on, like the Contender Series right now, and our College Series too. So a lot going on in eNASCAR. Sign up today, get all the information of all the different things happening in the world of eNASCAR. And Kenneth, this brings us to our first caution, our first stop, and the first time that most of these drivers can finally take a breath, reset, take what you learned in the opening stint of this race and try to apply that to the rest of the event. And I think what everybody knows about a track like Daytona, it's not about what you're doing in these first 40, 45 laps. It's how you set yourself up for the final 10 or 5.
That's true. It's always a big blueprint. It's always a large plan to say, all right, where am I going to be? Where do I want to be in the final 5 laps? And even then, that plan that builds up from lap 1 all the way to lap 50 coming out of turn 4, that can easily get thrown out the window if somebody gets involved in a crash, somebody makes a last lap move. I mean, countless times, Devin, how many of the circumstances that we see in the super speedways where most of the winning passes happen off the last corner or happen going into the trial to the start finish line? There are so many times we could bring it up that really it's about setting yourself up just to be in a nice position to win. But then it's a lot about adaptability. And the good thing about this field now, Devin, with this caution is that, like you said, they had that chance to relax. If we went green, they probably wouldn't have, and they would probably have to still deal with the nerves. But now they understand, all right, this is how the draft works. Here's who I need to watch for, and this is exactly what I need to do if I want to survive. As here's a look at Jake Cosio. He's burned the faster pair here. Actually, no, he hasn't, so he's actually taking some time on pit road. Never mind, he has. Yeah, just ticked it down right now. Got it from telemetry. So Cosio, one of the handful that is taking the faster pair for this race, and I believe it looks like Victor Barales Jr. in the 39 has also done the same. Alberto Nasca in the 54, and countless others here in the biggest crash, and our only one so far.
7 faster pairs used in that first incident. They only get 1 reset here, only 1 extra chance, so only 11 cars with a faster pair remaining, and that was a very troublesome wreck for the drivers out of the NASCAR Mexico Series. Obviously, Barales Jr. was in that. The NASCAR Mexico points leader was in that. In the real world, that is Ruben Garcia Jr., who just took over that points lead last weekend at Monterey on November 27th. And, of course, Jake Cosio also involved. Jaden Reyna was able to get a waiver round, though, and so Moose is back up on the lead lap. One of our 3 Americans, rather, here in this race, him alongside of Justin Campbell and Ryan Vargas. Ready to get back rolling here as we will begin lap 15. Treyten Lapcevich and Miguel Gomez to lead the field back to green. So far, it's been that 46 car leading the way for the most part. Ryan Vargas starting in P3, looking to give another big push to Gomez. Back underway at Daytona.
There's a large amount of space on that first and second row outside. You saw Ryan Vargas immediately coop to the rear end of the 46. It's taking a little bit of time to turn 1 for Jojo Maggi to make a push here on Lapcevich, so that could falter, at least for that outside lane. They're going to pick up Gil Linz, so they're going to pick up other drivers, but that inside with the power out of turn 2 and give first to Miguel Gomez, and maybe even the lead now switching hands. Vargas looking for the top, and he'll check everybody up on the top side going to turn 3.
Almost another issue for JP Bergeron. He almost got door slammed going down the back straightaway, so a little bit more chaos going on in the middle of this pack, and that has completely shuffled everyone as they get all out of sorts. Lines now trying to reattach. On board with Bergeron, we saw that phenomenal fighting with the wheel earlier when he was trying to keep that car straight, and that looked absolutely miraculous. It looks like another caution out, and it looks like Alberto Nasca involved again. This one coming towards the rear of the pack as Nasca was floating up and made contact with the 56 machine.
It looks like Jake Cosio, the 3rd car, involved in it as well. I don't think Cosio got that much damage, but remember, he ticked off the faster pair in that last caution. We'll see exactly what happened. It looked like, I think Nasca, Devin, just slid up a little too high at a turn 4. Maybe tried to get to the outside and work with the draft there, but didn't really understand. It looks like he wasn't fully clear when he was going up. And then Linzer, obviously nothing that the 56 could do, and Cosio on the back end of that had no time to react as soon as they got together and slammed the outside wall. Here's a better look at it. There's Nasca there right into the 56 of Linzer. He goes around for a spin and gets another hit to the outside wall. There's a look at a couple of others getting around. It looks like Gordon Barnes, one of the ones to survive and get through the wreckage. Only 3 cars involved in this one, but not much you can do in this situation. Here's a look on board from Cosio.
And that is just how quick it all happens at Daytona when you're racing at almost 200 miles per hour. And I really think it's understated, more than likely not really well known by people who don't really know a lot about superspeedway racing, just how difficult this kind of racing is. Yeah, smash the gas pedal, have it down all the way, push the guy in front of you, but it's also the bumps. It's the fact that you're trying to stay in that straight line. If you start faltering out of your line and pushing out in the middle of the corners, you're going to hit someone else and you're going to cause a massive wreck. So there is a lot of different intricate parts of super speedway racing. Well, right? You can be a really bad super speedway racer and still be able to try a race, but you're going to cause incidents. You're not going to be a good teammate and pusher, and there's going to be a lot of difficulties in trying to get up to the front. Being able to race well on a super speedway is so much more than you would believe. And how about this? We talk about all the different drivers. How about the Italian? We haven't talked a lot about Lully Del Castro and Castellello, and how they've been doing in this series. And so far, the driver out of Euro NASCAR 2, the 37-year-old, up inside the top 5 right now.
There's some big moves here by the 24 of Lully Del Castello, and you can also say the same for the driver right behind Castello, Giancarlo Vecchi in the 75 machine, the driver out of the NASCAR Mexico Series, who's leading the 2022 Mexico Challenge Series Rookie of the Year. Or actually, he was Rookie of the Year, 9th in points, and the 2021 Truck Series champion for the Mexico Series. Started 17th in the penultimate spot for this race. And you talk about learning at a super speedway, Vecchi is doing just that and thriving in the environment, up to P6 early at lap 17.
So a few different movers and shakers in this 18-car pack that we have here for the eNASCAR International iRacing Series, powered by Digital Motorsports. And we are also live at the ADAC SimRacing Expo in Nürnberg, Germany. Glad to have everybody along with us here with iRacing's broadcast here from Podium Esports. And of course, Ryan Vargas now leading the way. He is one of our American drivers inside here in this series. This is also his first start here in the International Series. He went out on Twitter after seeing the first couple of races and was like, hey, how do I get involved in this? I want to be part of this series full of international stars from across all different kinds of NASCAR, from the Pinty Series in Canada, from the Mexico Series, from the Euro Series, and hopefully soon, of course, NASCAR acquiring the Brazil Sprint Racing Series down in Brazil, and hopefully soon we'll get some NASCAR Brazil Sprint Race drivers here inside of the International Series in the future. On board here, taking a look at the rig of Moose, Jaden Reyna, one of our other American drivers with the Drive for Diversity. And the fact that this young man starting to race karts at 6 years old, he's raced on dirt with outlaw karts, and now here trying to make a name for himself in NASCAR. And also for him, he is a Mexican-American driver, so not only does he want to race in the American National Touring Series, but he also said that he would love one day to race in NASCAR Mexico as well.
There's nothing better than doing the double duty and be able to race in other series that are under that NASCAR umbrella. And that's the great thing about NASCAR and the amount of international influence it has with the guys from Euro NASCAR, with everybody from the American NASCAR Series, the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series at the very top. Then you have the Pinty Series, and then, like you said, with the expansion into South America, with what we're going to have and all the great drivers that you can find in Brazil, you know, it counts for all the influence that the International Series have, and that'd be so cool for Reyna if he could go on that double duty, be able to race in Mexico and in the United States. But we're ready for green flag action here, lap number 19 of 50. And to no surprise, Devin, the two best oval races that we've seen all race long are at the front, going to command the field.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is going to be too surprised if Ryan Vargas is out front, but Treyten Lapcevich has been so good this season too. He'll start on the outside. We're back underway at Daytona. 18 down, 32 to go.
And a complete opposite to what we saw, Devin, on the last restart. Look where the outside lane is. Absolutely nowhere. They're trying to build drivers, and they're led by the 33 of Paul Jouffreau, but they're absolutely in no comparison to the four drivers who have broken away at the front. First side-by-side battle inside the top 10. That settled quickly, and Vargas leading them single file on the super stretch.
Very interesting. For the first time, the entire outside lane dissipates. They're trying to make it up right now and trying to move forward, and it is included in that group. Paul Jouffreau in that black and blue number 33 machine gain a big push from your points leader out NASCAR Mexico, Victor Morales.
And you have to imagine with the crash that the 39 of Barrales was involved in, Devin, and the fact that he's your points leader, you can't imagine maybe something shifted here. By the time we're getting to halfway, he understands, all right, I know I burned the fast repair. I need to be careful, but I also need to be at the front. I want to keep these points. I need to keep the points lead intact, just like he did last week at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park by finishing third. So Barrales turning up the pressure. Dufresne to the race lead, but Barrales looking to take it away with help from Justin Campbell, the 21.
First time we talked about the 16-year-old from Griffin, Georgia, the legend car driver, the NASCAR Drive for Diversity in that black and white number 21 machine, trying to push your current points leader in this International iRacing Series to the lead. On board here with Campbell, and take a look inside of his sim rig as he's at home. Giving a big push, and it looks like Barrales is going to lead this lap and lead the field here on lap number 20.
And you see the huge run that the guys on the outside got going into the trial. Well, that's because Dufresne slid up high. Vargas didn't really know where to go. He wanted to stay behind that 33. And so in result, all of them checked up. But for right now, it looks like Victor Barrales, the San Luis Potosi native out of Mexico, is going to be holding on to the lead, at least for the moment. And Dufresne's going to be on the very bottom. That's a phenomenon we see often at these super speedways, Devin, where that outside really has the advantage. While if you're on the bottom, yes, you've got the shortest way around the track. That part of the field is usually prone to checkups, where a lot of drivers get into the rear end. They don't want to push the pusher. They slow down, and that can really chop off a lot of miles an hour as they come out of turn 4. And Ryan Vargas looks to the outside for the lead. But again, that's an advantage that the outside has. Longer way around, yes, but you don't have the checkups as often, which helps dramatically. And Vargas looking for the lead back to turn 1.
Barrales with the shove. Ryan Vargas back up to P1, the free agent driver, I guess I should say, in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 5 starts here at Daytona, including his NASCAR career best, coming this past August, finished 6th place in what was a wacky race here at Daytona International Speedway for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And you see everybody playing bumper tag right now down that super stretch. Dufresne still trying to hold strong in that inside lane. Now getting his push from Lapcevich, who's racing live right now in Nürnberg.
And it looked like, Devin, it took us a little while after that restart to get settled as Dufresne slides up high and almost about checked up Lapcevich and everybody down low. But now we're seeing what we saw in that first leg of the race. Everybody gridlocked side by side, a formidable group on both lanes at this racetrack. And now that poses the question, who may be comfortable enough to make a third lane happen? I know it's pretty early in this race. We're still not even close to the end, but you can imagine that's a possibility. If you're now getting comfortable, and even if you're a driver that's already comfortable in this oval environment, do you push for 3 wide? Do you find help? And how many drivers will go with you? But for right now, it seems like those 2 lines are the best. And Ryan Vargas, clear for the inside, but not going to take it. He's going to stay with Barrales on the top. Never mind, he'll go back to the bottom.
And you can see almost just how thin these corners are, but you can comfortably fit that third lane. They do it all the time in the real world. Are they going to be able to do it here with some more inexperienced race car drivers? As Dufresne shaking and baking in that inside lane, he will reclaim the lead here as Vargas has to shuffle back out to the outside lane.
And you pose that question about that third lane, and then comes who's going to go with you. Like you said, inexperience is key here with all these drivers. So are they comfortable enough, and do they really want to risk that? Again, that's just a big point about risking it for points while also making sure you don't end up in a crash. It seems as though for the moment nobody even wants to decide for 3 wide or even think about it for the moment. I feel like it's a little bit too dangerous. And Dufresne still going head-to-head with Vargas. How about Dufresne, though? The amazing run he's put up tonight from Daytona after finishing 2nd last race at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We talked to him. He was very excited about that. Said it was important to be smart at this track. Most notably, he's being smart and he's being at the front. So that definitely is a good thing.
The 18-year-old Frenchman currently racing in Euro NASCAR 2 was a rookie, finished 9th in points in this season racing for Speedhouse. And for a driver like that at just 18 years old trying to work his way up the European ranks, if you look kind of at the American Series and the European Series, Euro NASCAR 2 kind of similar in stature to what the NASCAR Xfinity Series is. So you have a NASCAR Xfinity Series driver leading the outside lane and a Euro NASCAR 2 driver leading the inside lane.
And I love that in the top 3 you're seeing a lot of youth represented. Ryan Vargas just 22 years old, Paul Dufresne 17 years old, Treyten Lapcevich 17 years old, I believe 18 years old for Paul Dufro. All of them relatively young drivers, but they are so strong in the sim and so strong driving in real life. It's awesome to see the youth represented here. Here's a look from Dufro's rig, which we saw last week at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and almost got split 3 wide by Treyten Lapcevich, but Lapcevich held mercy and decided to back out before they got to turn 1.
Boy, oh boy. I think that Dufro is going to be owing Lapcevich some sort of present here in the coming weeks, because he was going to get sucked into the black hole down the middle. And I mean, Lapcevich put on the binders to try to allow him back to that inside lane. That was a mighty large favor from Treyten Lapcevich. He most certainly did not have to do that.
I'm pretty sure Lapcevich understood that Dufro was going to shut the door. He was not going to take being put in that sucker hole 3 wide. That's possibly the worst spot you could be in while super speedway racing. You get set in the middle, you have nowhere to go, you can't go to the inside or outside because you're basically swarmed by the field around you. And what's even worse, you most likely don't have help behind you, because nobody's going to really want to help that driver falling so far back in the middle lane. So fortunately enough that the 20 of Lapcevich decided to back out. Dufro is going to live to see another lap, but that's going to check them all up. And Victor Barrales, with help from Campbell, is going to surge to the race lead heading for turn 3.
Your points leader coming down to shut the door, and he will reclaim the lead inside of that inside lane. And this will shuffle Justin Campbell to the front of that outside groove, but they don't really have much momentum right now, as the 2 Canadians side by side, the 20 and the 7 machine. JP Bergeron, the 24-year-old out of Quebec, is just a rookie. He finished 10th in 2022 in the points series up in Canada. Average finish of about 12.5, and so he had himself a pretty solid rookie year with 7 top 10s and hoping to build on that. It's just a 24-year-old.
And a driver who finished in the top 10 at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, the track that we saw not too long ago. And for the driver of that 7, he actually did also finish in the top 10 in sim as well. Finished P8 not too long ago in the second race of the NASCAR International iRacing Series, and turning up the heat, the 7 car, as we saw him involved in that crash, heading for turn 3. Him and Barrales were, and they've done such a beautiful job of picking themselves back up. And also you could say the same for the 148 of Gordon Barnes, who's kind of just been hanging in there, Devin. We haven't talked too much about this Chevy Camaro all race long, but the driver from Colchester, United Kingdom, certainly hanging in there with 22 laps to go.
And for Gordon Barnes, he's one of the more veteran drivers, if you will, the 49-year-old out of the UK, but it doesn't mean that he has any less driving ability. A back-to-back Euro Series Club Challenge champion, defeating another driver in this series, Neo Lambert, who's not here today, by just a single point. 5 wins and 10 starts and 6 podiums 2 seasons ago, and Gordon Barnes trying to work his way forward, and right now one of the premier drivers in Euro NASCAR, trying to get himself up front, but right now has the view of this massive pack here in front of him, with their points leader Victor Barrales currently leading the way.
And I love how you're seeing the 2 ideologies of super speedway racing, Devin, show in full force here as we come across the halfway and as we enter these final 20 laps from Daytona. The 2 motives, you see these guys at the front, Ryan Vargas, Treyten Lapcevich, Paul Dufro, even Victor Barrales, who has shown up here in the past couple laps, Justin Campbell, the 21. All these guys have that theory of, we can avoid the trouble if we stay at the front. But then you've got guys like Gordon Barnes in the 148, Jaden Reyna in the 5, that have the opposite end of the idea that, hey, if we stay in the back, chances are if they crash in front of us, we have more than enough time to check up for the wreck and get out of harm's way. So you're seeing 2 different of them.
Trouble in the back.
That's Andres Perez de Lara into the outside wall. A couple of more involved. It looks like Luli de Castello in the 24 also got a piece of the safer barrier that's going to break up the field, but we're going to stay green.
Yeah, no one had a massive collision. Everyone scattered, but that will likely be the end of the race for the 17-year-old out of Mexico City. And currently your Challenge Series champion or points leader in Mexico. Take a look back here. What we have going on here is a pair of Mexico Series drivers getting together. An errant push leads to some trouble in the back of the field.
It just looked like Jake Cosio tried to split it through the middle and did not have a space. And then the 1 machine just cut down on him. And then the real estate basically ran out. It ran out of room, and then they both got together. And that brings a couple of the drivers involved in it as well. And that's so tough for them because they are so far back from the field. We talk about Gordon Barnes. Now he's a couple of seconds off the pace trying to catch up in the draft. Jaden Reyna, Gil Linster, Jake Cosio, all of these drivers that either were involved in it or had to check up for it are completely gone from the field up at the front, still racing strong at roughly maybe 8 or 9 to 10 cars strong back to turn 1. It's going to be unbelievably tough for them to get back, and they desperately need a caution if they want to have a shot to win.
Alberto Nasca now 2 laps down, the runner-up in Euro NASCAR 2, who also got to win at his native Italy this year. 5 wins this season. Unfortunately, went 2 laps down. His race is probably over. Luli Del Castillo is also a lap down after that incident. Ruben Garcia, your points leader in NASCAR Mexico, just went a lap down, and likely Andres Perez de Lara will also be going a lap down relatively soon. And there he is right there on the outside, just trying to hang on best that he can. He'll go a lap down. That's also going to trap everyone behind him to stay a lap down if we do get a caution with that just one wave around. But Kenneth, how about this combo that we have seen so much already this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are? Lapcevich and Vargas have been inseparable in this race, it seems like.
I think they found somewhat of a relationship here over these first 33 laps, and even for the next 17. Obviously, in that last lap, you're going to be friends with absolutely nobody. You're going to go guns blazing for the race win, but Vargas and Lapcevich, I think that the amount of respect that they've built together out on the track has been so important here at this race, and that's why you see them working so well together and even racing well against each other. The competition is so high, and these guys have so much respect for each other. And I know Lapcevich has a lot of experience on the ovals in sim. I saw him race the All-American Esports 400 not too long ago. He races late models often in the sim, and he does a lot of oval stuff, and so does Vargas. These guys converge often regularly in the sim, so nice to see that they're working so well together back to turn 1, still trying to defeat the power duo that is built up in Victor Morales and Paul Jufro back to turn 1.
And that's what's so cool about this series. You look at who has teamed up together at the front of the pack. I mean, we've seen Jufro and Morales together a long time. We've seen Vargas and Lapcevich together a long time. And that is all 4 of our different countries that are I shouldn't say countries, all 4 different demographics, if you will, represented. We have a driver from Canada, from Mexico, from Europe, and America, all trying to work together to try to take out the other group to the inside lane or the outside lane. And they've built a relationship here on track drafting. That's part of super speedway racing, is building a relationship and a rapport with those other cars around you. And it's so interesting seeing that from all the different walks of life that we have in the series, how they team up when you need the most, just 16 laps to go at Daytona.
And that's so vital with these super speedways, where you really can't do anything by yourself. You need people behind you to help. You need at least a couple of cars. Maybe if you have one other guy, maybe it makes sense and you can still make moves, but you need as many people as you can have. Here's a look on board with Joe Giamaggi and the number 8 machine hanging behind the 75 on Giancarlo Vecchi. Some of the guys on the back end of this top side behind Miguel Gomez, who's splitting the middle here. But like I said, building that rapport, building that respect is so important, because by the time you get to 15 laps to go where we are right now, to 10 laps to go, to 5 laps to go, and you have this amount of help, it is going to matter drastically, and that's going to give you the best shot at winning this race. And then the guys that you're working with, they have that mindset that, hey, I've worked so well with this driver all race long, why not help him another time? Why not stick with this driver that I know races clean, that I know is very smart at these tracks, that I can assist and kind of work with, and then at the last lap, we'll give ourselves the best shot of the win, and then we'll go at it against each other. But there's some favors being done, and that little reciprocation just means so much at these tracks, where having somebody behind you is way better than having nobody at all.
Saw some issues there in that inside lane. Justin Campbell caught the apron. You see where the track and that yellow line is, where the banking then just turns to 0 from 31 degrees to 0 degrees. He clipped that banking just barely and almost lost the draft, along with the driver who was behind him in that. So it's an 8-car package. Those two begin to shuffle their way back forward as we continue to see your points leader, Victor Morales, with no fast repair remaining, leading the way. We talked about some of his accomplishments, but we know that he knows how to get the job done in iRacing. He was the champion back in 2020 during the COVID pandemic. He was the champion when NASCAR Mexico made a sim racing league here in iRacing. He took home that title. He's part of the NASCAR Mexico Challenge Series. He finished 8th place in points, including a victory this season in that Challenge Series, kind of comparable to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. The Mexico Series has 3 separate series: their Truck Series, their Challenge Series, and their primary NASCAR Mexico Series. Similar to how in America you have the Craftsman's Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series. So in essence, 2 very similar in stature kind of formats, but a little bit different kind of racing, as Lapcevich continues to give a big old push to Jufro, as they've kind of played a little bit of swinger partner around and find a new little mate here. So Lapcevich now on the rear bumper of the 33.
I was about to say that, a little switcheroo there between the guys on the inside and the guys at the top as we continue to look at Lapcevich giving that push to the throw. It might give the 33 the race lead by the time they head for turn 3, but Morales here is looking for more than just to be at the front and win this race at Daytona. He's looking to become, Devin, the 3rd driver in eNASCAR International iRacing Series history to win more than one race. He broke free of that winless barrier at Vegas in race number 1 of this season. Can he do it all over again and join the likes of Treyten Lapcevich to win 2 races in their eNASCAR International iRacing Series career? And can he build that momentum for a possible championship this season, or maybe even more wins that could maybe get tied with or even surpass Alon Day, as Giorgio Maggi got all out of shape, I think, by himself. He's going to fall out of the top 10, and luckily he's able to keep that Ford Mustang pointed straight, but I'm not sure whether he had some help. I think there was just a checkup on the outside and then got tagged by Justin Campbell, went sideways, but will stay green with 12 laps to go.
Maggi with a wicked save. He will lose this lead draft. There is a second group right now being led by Jake Cosio, but they are 13 seconds behind the lead pack. They will need a caution in order to catch this group here in the next 11 laps. You see Barnes here at the tail end of this group as well, so they have themselves quite a lot of work to do to get themselves up to that lead pack. Never mind, I take it back. We have a caution on track, and that's going to bunch us all back up again.
And that's Miguel Gomez in the 46, who started on pole from Daytona, and it's the first time that he's seen in trouble. And there was a couple of more cars involved. I see the 75 of Giancarlo Vecchi, the 10 machine of Elisa Del So. Justin Campbell barely got through out of that. That would be a beautiful onboard shot from the Drive for Diversity driver. But here's a look at Gomez, the Portuguese driver, going sideways. Just that small tap from the 75 of Vecchi, and there was nothing he could do. Went sideways and even further, then backed it into the outside wall. And then you'll see Elisa Del So in that 10 machine, that white car on the bottom of Justin Campbell here you're riding on board with. Looks like Del So won't be as lucky, but Campbell finds the needle to thread, and he's through.
Oh, how impressive is that right there? The seas part, and Campbell is able to switch his way through and get himself cleanly with this lead pack still. We're going to go green with less than 10 laps to go here, Kenneth. So this is what we talked about at the beginning of this race. It's not about what you're doing in those first 40 laps. It's about how you set yourself up for this final stretch right here. We do have a chance to go up to 3 green-white checkers, but this is crunch time. This is why you race those first 40 laps, to put yourself in position to find your way to the front in this next sprint.
And what's going to make things more nerve-wracking with the fact that time is running out and drivers are going to be more aggressive is that we're adding more drivers at the front of the field. Because remember those small little accidents that spread the field apart, got everybody 10th on back, away from that first pack? They're all going to have that chance to come back now that this caution is out. It's going to bunch the entire field back together. And we have a couple of drivers a lap down, but we still have 14 cars on the lead lap. So it's still going to be a formidable group of drivers at the front that you're bringing into this battle, and it's making it more intense for the drivers up at the front to play more defense.
And that last incident that we saw is really one of the intricacies of super speedway racing, the way that you kind of float in the center of the corners because you're trying to keep that car down. It's so hard to see past the car in front of you to see what line that they're running. So it's very difficult to figure that out. And if you want to learn some of the more intricate details of racing on super speedways, you can do that right now with the biggest discount iRacing gives off, 50% off. For all new members right now off of a 1-year or 2-year subscription, and for all the renewals and all the reactivations, 25% off for the iRacing holiday sale. I mean, Daytona is one of the granddaddies of them all, whether it be on the oval, whether it be on the road course, or maybe we'll get a supercross track. No, we probably won't. But you have all the different disciplines of racing that come to the World Center of Racing. This is one of the granddaddy racetracks of the world that opened back up in the 50s. So, you know what? If you guys want to try your hand at this, great opportunity to get on iRacing right now.
Hey, and look at all the content that's coming out in the future. I mean, they announced Toyota GR86. You know how awesome that car is to have it in the sim. I think Wild West is going to become free content as well in the base subscription. So there's so much excitement, and as the new season rolls around, it's going to be in a couple days on Tuesday. We have the new season build, so we're going to have new content, new features, and so You're right, Devin. If you're somebody that's interested in iRacing but hasn't really pulled the trigger on getting a subscription yet, this time, the holiday sale, is the best time to do it. And you get your subscription every year at this time of year. I started hopping on that trend last year, too. I realized how good of a deal it was, so I was like, I need to click on this right now. I cannot lose out on the opportunity. So this holiday sale, awesome for iRacing, all the drivers who are currently in sim and all the people who are looking at it but just haven't done anything to fully decide, yeah, I think this is the best time.
And we talk about how eNASCAR is growing and, of course, how iRacing continues to grow as well. And one of those new things that we find on iRacing years and years down the road is an ice racetrack. Because, of course, as a lot of you Europeans know, Euro NASCAR will hit the ice for the first time in NASCAR history in any series across the world for the NASCAR Arctic Ice Race. March 4th and 5th, they're going to race on a frozen lake in Finland for a preseason exhibition. And you can actually catch that race where some of you are watching this right now, the Euro NASCAR YouTube page. And of course, so much news, so many fantastic growth opportunities for NASCAR as of late. Of course, the NASCAR Cup Series in America racing in a stadium for the first time at the LA Coliseum. You had the NASCAR Pinty Series in Canada race on dirt for the first time this year. That also brought Kenny Schrader up to Canada for the Pinty Series. And of course, Euro NASCAR ready to start creating some new in NASCAR as well with their ice race. And of course, the new NASCAR Brazil Sprint race coming up soon as well, as NASCAR acquired that recently. So a lot of great things happening around the world of NASCAR around the world. And how about a brand new race car on track? Well, in a way, it looks like a modified, but right now, Ulysses Del Sol not having the most fun time as he lost that front clip and adds plenty of front end damage. That 10 car is going to parachute to the back quickly with how much aerodynamics are vital here at Daytona.
Del Sol is not going to want to be a leader in a group. At least Del Sol could be a pusher, perhaps stay in the draft, but that's really going to hurt that front clip. Maybe he's got a clean radiator, a little more clean air there, but obviously the speed there, aerodynamics, not going to help in the case for Del Sol. And that's a prime example, Devin, of a driver who's used a fast repair tonight, then got into another incident, and they have no other choice but to just deal with that damage and just try to hold on for this next 7 or so laps.
But the leaders of this race are the leaders of the D-BOX E-NASCAR International iRacing Series Digital Motorsports Championship. Victor Morales, Treyten Lapcevich will lead the field back to green. 7 laps to go to decide it at Daytona.
And that's a better start for the drivers on the outside. Remember that last time we got the green flag, the top lane was completely dissipated. Now they've got more help, and this is going to be dangerous. Ryan Vargas giving a push to Lapcevich. The leaders make contact in turn 1.
Vargas has to really get off the gas, and he's able to keep Lapcevich in front of him. He could have turned that 20 car accidentally and caused a massive melee in turn 2. Morales floated up the track, bangs doors with Lapcevich. Everyone able to keep it together, well, except for Ulysses Del Sol, unfortunately. You see some of the frustration there. That's part of the racing here. Third lane trying to get made. It's Jaden Reyna, the American on the outside lane. Not really working out for him, though. And again, like you said, Kenneth, if there's going to be a third lane made, you got to have friends who are willing to go with you. We are shuffling and line dancing right now. Paul Jufro and Euro NASCAR to the front.
That's a gorgeous move, Devin, by the 33 of Jufro. Caught the 39 lacking and went to the bottom, and now the 33 in the race lead, looking for his first career eNASCAR International iRacing Series win. Here's on board with a Ford Mustang. Does Morales, Lapcevich, Vargas have anything to respond? Out of turn 2, looks like they will. Morales will get a huge shove from the Canadian in Lapcevich, and they are still, even for the lead, back to turn 3.
And how about the young American, Justin Campbell, second in line on the inside row in the black and white number 21 machine. We continue to see him battling up front, and he has himself in a position right now to battle for this win. This time by, it will be just 5 laps to go. 12 cars in a pack here for the International Series.
Campbell in a great spot to win this race, and guess what? So is Gil Linster in the 56 machine. We saw this driver involved in an accident earlier in this race, and the Luxembourg driver has a possibility to get back in this game. Third on that inside lane. Obviously, nothing really he could do with the space given to him, but Linster in a possibility to win. Vargas tried to thread the needle 3 wide and got the door shut by Lapcevich.
Tremendous block by Lapcevich. I don't know how he got down there that quick without getting turned around. And here comes third place in the championship points on the outside lane. Jake Cochio getting a little bit of help. Reyna's trying to make that third lane working. They might get some friends. Here comes Vargas too.
Vargas noticed the run, and now he's going to go up, but decided to go back down. Jean-Philippe Bergeron is there, and they're going to check up on that third lane. It's going to limit the space. Vargas, possibly with no help, and that may shuffle him to the very rear of the field. Everybody indecisive on what proper lane they want to choose. But I questioned Devin throughout the race whether that third line was going to be viable, who was willing to take the risk to go up there. It looks like 3, maybe 4 cars strong on the back straightaway.
Cossio was indecisive. It cost that outside lane a little bit of time, but gives a massive shove to Vargas. 3 abreast into turn number 3, looking for a win here, and NASCAR Dufresne floats up the track. It's the big one with 4 laps to go, and that's going to collect a large portion of the field.
And that was Vargas, high fly up in the air as Dufresne got into Barrales. He slid up the track. And that is so unfortunate. I think these guys may have still faster pairs left. Barrales doesn't. The 33 of Dufresne, and I think Vargas does. And then here's a look at how it all started. Turn 3, and look at that. The 33, Devin, just caught the apron and slid up the banking and gets everyone involved.
And that's how quick it happens at Daytona. And absolutely detrimental for your points leader, Victor Morales Jr., who will just try to do whatever he can to salvage some points on board with Jaden Reyna. Listen in. And not a thing you can do. Not a thing you can do.
And for Reyna there, look at the front end damage. Again, they slowed down so fast. There was nothing Reyna could do, even if he was hopping on the brakes. And it's just, we didn't talk about this all race through, Devin. The fact that the apron is so deadly at a super speedway because you're going so fast, it can wobble the car, get it unsettled. And it's what happened to Dufresne, who has been picture perfect all race long, just makes that one mistake. And unfortunately, by the time he makes contact with Barrales, it's just a passenger ride from there on out. And it takes so many competitive racers out of this one, at least in track position. Of course, Vargas and company, I think Dufresne and Vargas both have that fast per lap. Actually, Dufresne doesn't. Vargas does. So that's definitely going to be a game changer. But that is really going to open the door up for Justin Campbell, Treyten Lapcevich, Gil Linster, all these guys who were able to get away from the wreckage as Barrales blows the engine and has to coast it to the pit lane.
Troublesome, and we'll see who comes out of this with any sort of race car left. This is going to shuffle Justin Campbell up to the front of the pack. We will have 3 attempts maximum at a green-white checkered finish here at Daytona. Again, we talked about the chaos, the uncertainty, the inexperience of some of these drivers who race a lot of road racing and have never raced at a site like this, the super speedway of 2.5 miles in length, Daytona International Speedway. So many intricate and fine details to put together a perfect race and find yourself in victory lane, whether it be in the real world or in the sim world. Everything has to go right. So glad to have you here on iRacing's coverage of the D-BOX E-NASCAR International iRacing Series, powered by Digital Motorsports, live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, and live with all of our friends in Germany at the ADAC SimRacing Expo. Glad to have all of you along with us, and of course Treyten Lapcevich live racing in front of an audience. Guys, make sure that Treyten can hear you guys. He's running P2 right now. The Canadian Pinty Series Rookie of the Year 1 year ago finally broke through and got those victories this season in Canadian NASCAR, and he's been able to get himself quite a bit of a name here, not just in the sim world, but also how he's been racing in the real world up at the Pinty Series. We get ready to restack him here, Kenneth, and the question becomes, who has faster pairs left for 3 green-white checkered finishes? Of our 18 drivers who started the race, only 3 remain with the faster pair. Justin Campbell, Treyten Lapcevich, and Jaden Reyna.
And those 3, Devin, the top 5 when we go back to the green flag. So that tells you just how much that they've lasted here at this track and how long they've gone without having to even think about it. They do have some damage. I know Campbell has some rear end damage. Lapcevich also has some rear end damage. But that's not really going to affect them that heavily. They're still in contention for the win. They're some of the cleanest cars in this entire field. And I'm not sure if you're mad at me quite yet, Devin, because I remember at the start of the race, we talked about the race analysis. I pointed out that we had those 3 green-white checkers available. You said don't jinx it, and yet here we are. Attempt number 1.
Sometimes it is just the way that it goes at Daytona too, though. And remember, guys, to tune into our D-Box contest that we have as well to win yourself a play seat rig. I mean, this thing is so cool. It's all hydraulic. It's all electric motors with no hydraulics in it. This is the Digital Motorsports NASCAR Simulator outfitted with D-Box haptic technology. You can go to d-box.com/enascar/contest. Pick who you think's going to win this championship and sign up for the D-Box newsletter for your chance to win this sim rig right here anytime between now and December 21st. We'll touch on that again a little bit later because I know you guys really, really want that rig. How many clean cars do we have? I think maybe 8. We're going to find out who's going to be able to outlast the rest of the field. The D-Box E-NASCAR International iRacing Series for the first time ever at the legendary Superspeedway of Daytona. Justin Campbell and Treyten Lapcevich lead us back to the green. Another Canadian in the top 3 right now, JP Bergeron. First attempt at a green-white checkered here from Daytona.
And you saw Lapcevich there on the high side, row number 1, trying to make sure he could predict when Campbell was going to go to the green. That's going to help Lapcevich get a run. He's going to give him the lead in turn 1, but he's got no help. The 7 of Jean-Philippe Bergeron is going to take a little while to get to the back bumper of this 20. They should even out by the 10 they get out of turn 2. And look at Ryan Vargas all by himself, 3 wide, looking for the race lead.
The 23 doing it solo. He'll get a nose out front. He'll bring along Miguel Gomez as well and Gordon Barnes. There is power in that 3rd lane on the high side.
And Vargas was P9 by the time they got the green flag, and now he's at the possibility where he can win this race. They're 3 wide near the back end of the first pack, but Vargas, Lapcevich head-to-head as Litzer goes sideways to the white flag.
Garcia's down in the infield, but we will take the white flag. That means that we are coming back home to the checkers. Checkers or wreckers in Daytona for the International Series. Ryan Vargas leads the way. Behind him is Miguel Gomez. Then you have both Justin Campbell on the backside of that inside lane. Lapcevich leads the way in the inside group. 3 cars behind him as well with a chance at the draft.
And how about it, Devin? Lapcevich and Vargas, 2 of the strongest drivers all race long with a possibility to win. This is going to be huge. Lapcevich gets left for dead. Gordon Barnes in the mix going to turn 3. It's Vargas versus Gomez coming out of turn 4.
Andres Perez Zalara battling for 4th. His car was completely demolished. The battle for the lead off of 4 one final time. It's between Gomez and Vargas. At the line, Ryan Vargas in his first race in the E-NASCAR International Series is going to victory lane. And you see the emotion. He wanted to be in this series so bad. I don't know how many tweets he sent out to try to figure out how to join. And he goes to victory lane in race number 1. He can't believe it either.
He's 100% from the field. 1 start, 1 win.
And it came down to that move, Kenneth. All by himself to pioneer a 3rd lane, and that move won him the race.
Oh, easily the move of the race for sure. All by himself from 9th to 1st in the span of maybe half a lap or so. And I remember, Devin, seeing the tweet yesterday. Vargas finally announced he was going to be a part of this D-Box E-NASCAR International iRacing Series, how happy he was to be a part of it. And look at the results of that. All the effort he put in for this race, the experience that he carried into this event, and just the cleanliness that he carried all race long. It mattered, and despite flying in turns 3 and 4, and it looked like his race was over, Vargas had that fast repair in tow, and that's all he needed, and all the experience he could use, and he gets to victory lane for the first time in his first attempt.
Vargas burns it down, the most experienced driver in the real world at Daytona. 5 starts and a 6th place finish. Kenneth, let's look back here this last lap, because it's not just that move that he made to put himself to the lead. It's also all the intricate moves that we keep talking about to keep himself up front.
You have to play the game with momentum, and this is exactly what the 23 does. He does have some help, though, because you look at the battle out of turn 2. It looked like this was going to be it. It looked like Campbell was going to stay with Lapcevich. They were going to work together, but look at the push by the 46. It clears Vargas, and then Campbell makes this move up top. They're going to start to fight for position because Gordon Barnes is going to make it potentially 3 wide at a turn 4. But look at the masterclass Ryan Vargas does just to hold the front, keep everybody at bay, and then as Miguel Gomez goes for the move, Vargas bites a little bit, pushes him up the track, slows him down, makes him swerve, and that is more than enough to keep him at the front and keep that nose to the start-finish line first. And Vargas takes the win. But that last lap, that last restart, the beautiful moves he made in the draft to go from 9th to 1st in 2 or so corners, just unbelievable.
From P9 to P1 on a green-white checkered finish, Ryan Vargas is the winner, the first ever D-BOX E-NASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports race at the Oval at Daytona International Speedway. Stick around with us. We are going to chat with our podium finishers and take you through the entire order of our results. You are watching the D-BOX E-NASCAR International iRacing Series powered by Digital Motorsports.